it's spooky season. It's the last time I'll be able to say that this year. What is up, film geeks? My name is Trevor. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Halloween. I hope you're having a great day so far. Eating lots of candy, watching some horror movies. Since it is the spookiest day of the entire year, I thought it was the perfect time to share with you my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. It's gonna be a divisive list, but let me know down below in the comment section, what is your favorite horror movie of all time? What is the #1 spot? And my list is gonna be different than yours. It's okay, we're talking favorites here, people. As we go into this list, how I deem a horror movie and how you deem a horror movie might be a little bit different. I did not include movies like Sounds of the Lambs or Jaws on this list. More felt like thrillers rather than actual horror movie. Trying to go straight horror here, at least movies that actually scared me or had a scareful impact on me, if that's even makes sense of a sentence. But if this is your first video here, make sure to red subscribe button down below for more trailer reactions, movie reviews, and rankings such as these. With that said, let's do this. So, starting off, number 10, a more recent movie from 2019, Dr. Sleep. I absolutely fell in love with this movie, and I fell in love with everything they brought to the table. While I am a decent fan of The Shining, I would never deem it to be one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But with Dr. Sleep, it sucks you into this world, and it brings you back to the very end of The Shining. And I mean, how they paid homage to the film is so brilliant, but Ewan McGregor is a standout here. I mean, put this guy in anything, it's absolutely fantastic. And how this movie's shot, how it's told with the red rum on the wall, and is obviously backwards, that is murder. It has so much homage to The Shining, and Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat, one of the best villains of the entire year. Dr. Sleep, if you haven't seen it, put it on your horror watch list. Next up, number 9, maybe a more underseen movie. We're going The Strangers. I remember watching this as a kid for the first time, and it absolutely scared the bejesus out of me, people. I grew up on a ranch out in the country, so this one hit home more for me than other movies has. So if you don't know what this movie's about, it's about these two people who are about to get engaged. She ends up saying no to his proposal. They go back to this little cabin they rented out in the middle of the country in a kind of the woods, and these 3 people with masks haunt them, terrify them, and ultimately try to kill them. It brings me the chills, and throughout this movie, I was jumping to have my hands covering over my eyes, and that ending, whoa, man, a fantastic horror movie. Again, The Strangers, if you have not seen it, put it on your list. It is terrifying, it's riveting, and it seems very real, and it is based on a true story. So I'm a big, like, paranormal, like, ghost and spirits type horror guy, and Paranormal Activity, the first one, terrified me as a kid, and it terrifies me to this day. And this movie as a kid scared me. When I go back and rewatch it now, it still scares me. The reason it does is because it seems so realistic. My girlfriend won't watch it because of how realistic it seems, and it feels like literally filming it on the iPhone, walking around, and that's what always terrified me. And how this movie ended specifically haunts me to this day, and how the ending, the final shot of the movie is done and performed, sends the chills down my spine. This movie has always scared me, and I always loved it for how low of a budget it was and how much of an impact it had on me all these years later. Next up, number 7, Get Out. This one more is like a thriller movie, but at times I remember being scared. It has that haunting vibe throughout it. Daniel Kaluuya got an Oscar nom, as he deserved. Jordan Peele won Best Original Screenplay for this. Very well deserved. A chilling, more of a kind of thriller movie, but at times it does bring that horror aspect. I remember the first time I watched it several times, there were scenes that scared me. That's why I included it on this list. Jordan Peele is proving to be one of the best horror directors working today, and if he keeps up with his list of these movies he's coming out, he can be one of the best horror directors of all time. Get Out is real. Get Out is just focuses so deep on everything going on in these characters' lives, and it just brings out the terror, brings out the tension. It has lots of funny moments. It also has lots of hoorah moments. But at the end of the film, you're cheering, you're hyped up. It's funny, it's scary, it's impactful. Freaking Get Out's the best. Next up, Saw. While this used to be my favorite horror movie of all time, rewatching it this year, it dropped just a couple notches. While I still love it, I don't know why, it just dropped a couple notches, but James Wan is my favorite horror director of all time. He might have a couple more movies on this list, and he crafts such a beautiful movie with only $1 million budget. Him and Lee Winnell produced and they made this movie so riveting, and it's such a thought-provoking film, and you have your hands covering over your eyes because you're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And the reason I like this one over the rest of the Saws is because we're trying to figure out why these characters are there with them. You feel like you're there with them. It mostly takes place in his bathroom. There's 2 characters trying to figure out why they're there, what decisions they have made to put themselves in this position. It's fantastic. It brings the emotions out of you. It brings the terror out of you, and probably one of the best twist endings of all freaking time. Top 5, here we go. A Quiet Place. I love a good monster in a horror movie, and A Quiet Place is so tenseful because there's barely any talking. For a movie that has little dialogue, It does such a good job of just making you so scared, so invested. You don't want to eat or drink in this film for how quiet it is. And A Quiet Place Part 2 came out this year, and while I think Quiet Place Part 2 is a little bit better, I feel this one more embraces that horror route. And it truly does. When Emily Blunt is running down the stairs, she steps on the nail, you jump because you know it's about to happen. When the aliens and monsters are surrounding around them, you have to be quiet. It feels like you have to hold your breath with these characters. It's scary, it's riveting. John Krasinski, one of my favorite working directors, a fantastic horror monster alien movie. It's brilliant. I love it. And they barely talk. That's how you know it's good, because they barely say a freaking word. Number 4, another James Wan movie, The Conjuring. What a fantastic horror, paranormal, just haunting story that's based on true story. Rewatched this year before the third Conjuring movie came out, which we're not even going to talk about. When I rewatched it this year, it hit even harder with me because I haven't rewatched it since theaters. And in theaters, one of the scariest movies I've seen, and on rewatch, it is a very scary movie. And I had my hands covering my eyes throughout it. Had to watch it during the day, and I've seen this movie before. That's how you know it's scary and thought-provoking. James Wan, to me, is a master of horror. How he has these shot selections, how he dives into these worlds they have. And it ultimately gave me chills when Patrick Wilson's performing The Exorcism. Had chills all over me from the acting, the storytelling, and just how scary and riveting this story really is. Based on true story, makes it even that much scarier. Coming to the top 3, if you haven't seen your favorite on the list yet, you probably won't. It's about to get crazy, people. Number 3, 2017's It. This movie not only scared me, but it made me laugh. It made me want to go back and rewatch it. It's a very rewatchable horror movie. I got the Pennywise mask sitting right there. It is something that I did not expect to love as much as I did, but I'm so glad I watched it. It's one of the more rewatchable horror movies for me. While there's a big monster game in Pennywise, it's very chilling in the beginning. And it goes on like this coming-of-age story with these kids, and it almost feels like a coming-of-age movie at times. It's a very It-themed movie set here this year for the horror years. And the Losers Clubs form. They try to go down and take down this monster of Pennywise. It's scary. It's thought-provoking. Pennywise does a crazy dance. Doesn't even matter. It sits home with me. It's a very rewatchable horror movie, hence why it's so high on this list. I absolutely love it. My runner-up, what are you thinking? What are you predicting? Let me know down below. We're going Scream, the 1996 Scream. And this will usually be my favorite horror movie until I watch one this year for the first time. But Scream does something so different. It redefines the slasher genre. It actually got me invested in the slasher genre. Wes Craven is very arguably one of the best horror directors of all time. And what he did with this film, he is so self-aware with this movie. He makes fun of it in a way. He has so much fun with these characters. And my man Randy, I absolutely love him in this movie. He does so much with this story, and like everyone always talking about other horror movies throughout it and how they make dumb decisions, and ultimately this movie falls into those same suits as well, making it very self-aware and a very different, poised, awesome horror movie with great twists, great kills, great killers. It has everything you want in a slasher movie. And there's one movie coming above it, and here we go. Number 1, my favorite horror movie of all time. Scream 4. I never thought Scream 4 or a sequel to Scream would be my favorite horror movie of all time. But I'm watching it for the first time this year. I can safely say it is my favorite horror movie of all time. While that is a completely hot take, just hear me out for a second. So this is a franchise that had 2 sequels before it, and those sequels were fine. They didn't really do anything all that different. This one, while it feels kind of like original Scream at the same time, it manages to do something different, gives us more characters like Randy, things we liked about the first one. But the twist of this one is something I've never seen. It's the craziest plot twist of all time, in my opinion. My jaw hit the floor. Never in my life would I have seen it coming who the actual killer was. We had 2 killers yet again. Pay so much homage to the original Scream. We get all of our characters back, minus Randy, but Gail and Sydney and all these characters back. But they almost take the back seat in this one. We get new characters, new blood with Kirby and Jill and Charlie and Robbie. And all these characters come to fruition. And Kirby's one of my favorite Scream characters. She knows so much about the horror movies, and it has so much homage to the original horror movie, but with just a little bit of a better twist. I love everything Scream 4 have to offer. It is my favorite horror movie of all time. Join me down below in the comment section. What is your favorite horror movie of all time? Let me know that down below. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button for movie reviews, trailer reactions, and rankings such as these. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy Halloween. We are now heading into the Christmas time season. I'm excited for all of it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.